Welcome back to the Leverage Advantage Show. And today we have a very special guest with us. We're really humbled, grateful, and honored that Aimee Engelmann, who's the CEO and founder of Beepo Limited, joining us today. Now, Beepo is a company which offers outsourcing and offshoring services, for example, like virtual assistants, marketing assistants, sales and customer service staff, bookkeeping, and even accounting talent. Aimee's had over a decade of diverse business success behind her, and she is Australia's preeminent speaker on offshoring and the outsourcing industry. Now, her vast experience developing business improvement strategies, as well as her knowledge of cross-cultural teams and remote office technologies, has Aimee uniquely placed to provide entrepreneurs with the tools that they need to grow their business and reach their full potential. Her intimate understanding of changing global labor markets also offers business leaders genuine insight into the emerging market paradigm. Thank you so much for joining us, Aimee.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, I think for a start, really, what our audience would love to know is tell us a little bit about what you do, who you serve, and how you ended up where you are now.
Great. Well, after some diverse experience in corporate, I became an entrepreneur, as you said, about 10 years ago. In Beepo, my current role is the CEO. We have a team of close to 300. I'm supported by a senior management team and an amazing general manager. We're based mostly in Australia and the Philippines, and the customers we service are global. We do have a very big Australian focus, but we have clients throughout Asia, throughout Europe, in North America, and we're a 24/7, 7-day-a-week business.
Awesome. And tell me a little bit about how you got started with Beepo. Like, what gave you the idea? Why did you decide to create an outsourcing company?
Yeah, it's an interesting story, and I think many successful businesses actually start this way, and it was started through customer insight. So I was a customer of outsourcing firms, and in my previous company, which was a marketing agency or ad agency, and we had a lot of struggles when we first employed staff out of Australia. We had a lot of process problems, a lot of system problems, and basically learnt a lot through that experience. So when I got to the other side of that, I reflected and I thought, well, if that's the average experience that a business has when they start employing outside of their local market, maybe there's a better way. Maybe all those learnings and all those mistakes that we've made, we can take that and turn that into something. So that's how it was born. It was actually born out of a very hard time that myself and my team went through in getting that whole outsourcing offshore piece right. And and then we founded Beepo. I founded Beepo with my husband about 4 years ago.
4 years ago. And what are the biggest challenges? What were the biggest challenges that you faced in starting out Beepo?
Well, there's all the classic ones: access to capital, time, crazy hours, doing everything in the business, selling, working on operations, building a team, training, mentoring, coaching, building systems. It was just crazy. A lot of travel involved as well, because Australia is far away from pretty much everywhere in the world. So to get to the office was actually, 8 hours flight. So it ended up being close to a day or more's travel to get there. And other challenges on a personal side, I had a 2-year-old at the time and also fell pregnant within the first 18 months of the business. So we've got 2 young kids, and they've kind of grown up as the company's grown up as well. So very, very busy time, personally and professionally, really.
Awesome. And for you, what was it like? I think a lot of people would be really interested in understanding how you overcame those challenges. Like, for example, being able to bridge that geographical gap between you and where most of the employees come from. How is it different now? How have you managed to handle it better?
So, look, in the early days in training and mentoring staff and building a team, we spent a lot of time on Zoom, like today, a lot of time doing screen sharing, a lot of time doing training. If I had my time again, I would probably concentrate in those early days on building that system and kind of thinking about how I could leverage my training time and leverage my people-facing time a little bit better. But look, sometimes I don't think that there is a silver bullet. I think when you're in startup mode, you just have to get it done right, and you just have to have grit and commitment and resilience, and you have to deal with every challenge as it comes up as best you can, and try to push through.
And I think one of the things you mentioned is really important for a lot of startups and a lot of growth stage companies to understand. You talk about getting those processes up. You talked about getting those trainings done and videoing those trainings. What a lot of companies do when they want to grow is they put people before processes, right? So they actually already have these processes in their heads and they're already doing it intuitively. But before they codify it, before they institutionalize it, what they do is they start hiring people and train them on the fly. And I think what happens is it becomes a big waste of resources, because I think the whole point of hiring somebody is meant to free up your time so you can do more and have them and leverage off their time to do more of what you used to be doing. And this is actually something.
Couldn't agree more.
Exactly, and this is actually something I learned from John Jonas. I had him on the show a week or so ago. He's the owner and founder of onlinejobs.ph. What are some of the most impactful things that a company can outsource?
Yeah, I will describe it in a very, very simple manner. It's the rinse and repeat processes where you would start for any sort of outsourcing opportunity. You want to look for the simple, repeatable tasks as a starting point. And then what you want to do is get those happening with a relative amount of volume and have yourself and your team feel comfortable that you're getting value. Once you're getting value and you can recognize how that's helping your staff free up their time to do higher value work, that's when you can then move to tasks that are a little bit more complex or require, a little bit more thinking. But the place to start are those repeatable administrative processes that are more black and white, that are rinse and repeat and are done frequently in the business. And, it's a very, very easy way to identify those tasks in your business is you quite simply go to a staff member and you say, write down all the stuff that's admin orientated that you don't like. And they'll tell you, and that's a perfect place to start.
Awesome. So I'll give you an example of some of the things that I've managed to offload to my assistant, right? So one of the things I don't enjoy doing is data mining, mining the contact details of prospects. It's very, very routine, very rote, very repetitive. The other thing I don't like is sending out emails to them and then following up and getting in touch with them until they actually set a meeting with me, and that's when I get that first touch point. Now the data mining thing is relatively easy. It's relatively easy. Most anybody can do it. The emailing thing actually requires a little bit of training. Of course, I think the systems, the processes, the templates need to be there, but it requires a little bit of training. But I'll give you another task, another relatively administrative task that I think I've been trying to drop off to an assistant, but it's proving somewhat challenging. So after we have that meeting and the prospect is happy to explore how we can work together, we need to get a proposal up, right? And proposal writing is a little bit more difficult. How do you think we can start onboarding somebody to become good enough at, say, proposal writing that they could take over that role?
Yeah, so my advice would be recruit on skill set. So you want to, for the first part, is make sure that you're recruiting someone who has good writing skills and has a passion. So skill set and passion, of course, together will be very successful. In the early stage, before you even think about bringing someone on board to do that, I would recommend skills testing. So, and it's often forgotten in that process. People will hire people that they like or hire people that they think be able to do that task well, but they haven't actually tested them at all. So I recommend to have a healthy distrust in a way for what's in one's resume and to actually test out that skill set first. And then when it comes to something like the proposal writing, creating a format or a way that proposal is structured, and then understanding what are the unique things to that client in the proposal. You know, for example, you might be talking about that customer's business problems and, you know, what's important to them so that you can tailor a proposal. So you would need to teach that person the questions that they would need to ask themselves to be able to write that particular section and give them a framework to be able to start. And then, of course, regular feedback and coaching and mentoring so that they can understand the context of why something has either been successful or not successful, or why that particular piece doesn't suit. So just being really, really quick with feedback, quick and regular with feedback. Don't wait for monthly reviews or, you know, 10-year catch-ups. Just have, you know, daily feedback on how things are going.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think that's going to be a huge help, not just for me, but I think for the viewers as well. What's one big tip or advice for listeners when it comes to creating leverage in their business? I mean, I know, like, immediately when I look at your business, I know that it definitely helps people gain leverage. But how do you think what's the most impactful thing that they can do to get leverage in their business?
So I thought about this when I was reflecting on the interview, and you know, there's so many areas that I could talk about, but I'm going to talk about the most important one, and that's lead generation. Because if you do not have a system for generating leads, you cannot sell. If you cannot sell, you cannot retain. If you cannot retain, you cannot make money. So at the end of the day, you need a way of generating quality leads within your target market and to systemize that. So to give you an example, in our business, we have a number of different ways that we generate leads. Sometimes we write content that helps attract people to our ideas and the way that we think. Sometimes we just go out cold and we data mine different companies and we reach out to them. Sometimes we put campaigns in place to ask for referrals and ask our existing customers for either repeat business or to refer us to other like businesses. So we have a number of different systems in place for lead generation, and the majority of those, other than writing technical content, is supported by people in the Philippines, by our staff in the Philippines. So we kind of walk the talk. We have a couple of senior managers in Australia, but the majority of our lead generation system is actually executed in the Philippines. And I know, you know, for us, the cost of wages in Australia is exceptionally high. There is no way a business of our size could afford to have a 10-person marketing team, but we do. We have a 10-person marketing team. 8 of them are based in our office in the Philippines, and 2 of them are in Australia. So, yeah, lead generation for me is I think the most important. But I'd value your opinion on that.
Oh, like I 100% agree with you. I think for any company, and that's why we're in the business we're in now, actually. So what the Leverage Group does is we go to growth stage companies and we are the people that they outsource lead generation to. So we come up with all the marketing campaigns, whether it's content, whether it's ads and everything else. We develop the strategy and then we do the implementation. And the only reason we're able to do it at such a, because one way for them to do it is, yes, they can go hire some of the big agencies like O&M, but it will cost them a bomb, right? And for us, and also a lot of times those agencies are very focused on the creatives, focused on getting awards for say the best ad, not necessarily focused on getting the awards for lowest cost of client acquisition. And that's our focus. Our focus is how can we get you the best value in terms of your cost of client acquisition. We come up with that strategy and we do it for them. But for companies like us, you know, the only way we're able to give such great value pricing for what they get is because a lot of my team is in the Philippines, right? And when you talk about having a 10-man marketing team that you have, you know, the 8 people that you hire in the Philippines would be the cost of 1 headcount in Australia, right? But the productivity is 8 times or maybe six, right? Maybe 6 times, maybe 5 times, but it's much, much more. And that is, and so I completely agree with you, because lead generation is that seed that helps companies to grow. The more leads you have, the more sales you have, the more retained clients from those sales, the more profits you make. So 100% I agree with you. That has to be the most impactful thing. Now, the million-dollar question is, how do they begin to outsource that lead generation? Because so for a lot of small and medium enterprises, they're great at what they do, whether it's the engineering bit, whether it's the cooking bit. They run a great restaurant, but they don't know how to put butts in seats. They're not great at getting the clients, but they're great at what they do. So they wouldn't have those in-house processes to hire somebody and say, hey, you're going to do lead generation for me. You need to do this, this, and this. So how would they get around that?
So I truly believe that some of the best investment that can be spent in business is, if you're the founder or the owner or the person who's responsible for the end result and you don't have the capability or the knowledge, then you need to find a way to bring that into the business. Whether you pay someone, you beg, borrow, or steal someone with that knowledge. You might be able to do contra. You might be able to form a strategic partnership with another business that is targeting the same market, but you're not in competition. You have to get creative and find a way to get to that tipping point. And that tipping point is when you can sustain someone to assist you, whether that be a company, a person, on a full-time basis. And it's hard. I mean, in every business that I have started, to get to that point where you can have someone dedicated, if you're the one doing everything, is tough, but you have to find a way to get to that tipping point where your business has enough cash flow to be able to take that away from your responsibilities and have someone else do it, because that's the first step to freedom, really, in business. And it's the first step to ensuring that you can grow and getting yourself what I call off the tools. So there's probably not one thing, to be honest. You just have to work at growing your business. And as I said, beg, borrow, or steal those resources that you need to help to get to that point where you can actually pay people to do it for you.
Awesome. And if you could go back 10 years in your life, what would you do differently?
So I would do a couple of things differently. I would have got a coach earlier in my business career. I not floundered, but I was just happy kind of cruising on my own with a very small business of 1 or 2 people for about 3 years until I got a coach. So I would have loved to have gotten a coach earlier, because I didn't quite understand the connection between mindset and success, and a coach really, really helped me with that. I probably would have saved more cash. When I started my business, I was single. I was in my 30s. I love to go out, have a good time. I love to shop. I love to travel. And it's not until I've gotten a little bit older I realised the value of that cash in terms of leverage. What could I do with that cash? And how could I have put that to work more effectively? But you know what? I had a good time, and I don't regret it. But I could maybe have just stacked away a little bit more in my younger years. And I think the other thing is more a kind of health piece of advice. So I probably would have looked after myself a bit better. I've realised in my entrepreneurial journey, when I've been in that startup phase and I've had to put all in, I have certainly done that, but probably at a little bit of cost to my health. So not making enough time to look after myself, which of course then affects my energy, affects my ability to be on the ball and be the best that I can be. So I probably would give advice to my younger self to just slow down a little bit more and put health at the much higher on the priority list.
Nice. I think what you said, one of the biggest things that you said is you would have gotten a coach earlier, because you didn't understand that the connection between mindset and how well your business is doing. And I think one of the biggest realizations I've had recently really is that your business is a reflection of yourself, of your inner self. because all the decisions you make come from within you, and this then impacts your business. And in order for our business to improve, we need to work on ourselves. And that was really the biggest thing that I learned. In fact, my business completely hockey sticked when I hired a business coach, or a mentor, really. This man, his name's Christopher Duncan. He's out from New Zealand, and so we paid him a lot of money. We paid him about $60,000 over the course of 1 year, but it was probably the best investment that we've ever made. You know, in 3 months we did 250,000 together. In 12 we did about 500, and if not for him, we wouldn't know what to do. We wouldn't have realized the mismatch in the values that we had compared to where we wanted to be. You know, a lot of things that were internal work and of course strategy, we wouldn't have known, because we don't know what we don't know. So I completely agree with you there. And I think more people need to be aware of this concept of not knowing what you don't know, because at this point they really don't know what they don't know. But I think more people need to be aware of it. Thanks so much for that insight. Here, I'd love to understand from you, what does ultimate leverage look like to you?
Yeah, so two things for me. It's freedom. So, and that's a very day-to-day, when I talk about freedom, I don't talk about, financial freedom when I retire. I talk about how I spend my time during the day. So for me, freedom is being able to spend quality time with my kids around their schedule. It's around working at a high intensity when I do work, having time to travel, take holidays, look after myself. A couple of years ago, I moved to the beach, so I live right on the beach, and I, kind of make the most of the lifestyle. Australians are lifestyle junkies, so we have we just really do, in general, try and spend our time, outdoors and having fun. And so, yeah, for me, it's freedom. And the second thing is leverage for me is about building an asset or building systems, as opposed to, building customers or building a business or building a brand. As I have kind of got older in my entrepreneurial journey, I've been more focused on building an asset. So how can that asset operate without me? How can I scale it? How can I systemize it? And how can I have the flexibility to remove myself? So to give you an example, this year, for the first time, I took a proper holiday. Since we started the business, I had 4 weeks off. Everything ran without me, and all of the core functions in the business are done without me. So so that to me is ultimate leverage, when you can take something from the beginning, from nothing, build it up, build that system, and build an asset.
Congratulations, you have a company. You now have you have a proper business. I'm going to ask you some quick fire questions now. All right. So what I'd love for you to do is really just share with me what comes to you immediately. What comes to the top of your mind? Okay, you ready?
Yep. Bring it.
So what's the best advice you've ever received?
Best advice has been out of zero. It was actually from a coach, a guy called Mark Moses, and what he was referring to is, if you've got a financial goal, you want to achieve 2 million, out of zero, make it 20 million. If you want it to be 20 million, out of zero, make it 200 million. And that's all about thinking big. And I love that because it's simple. It relates to mindset, which I love learning about more and I'm passionate about. And it just really helps you elevate your thinking and your goals.
I like it. Very Grant Cardone, very 10x. Can you share one of your personal habits that you strongly believe contributes to your success?
Personal habits. So I try and exercise 4 to 5 times a week. I've found the times that I have invested more time in exercising, I've actually been had a lot of success in business. So I see that there's a very, very strong relationship between brain power, thinking power, doing power, and exercise. Sleep is probably one of the other things that is a personal habit, so try and get at least 7 hours solid sleep. And yeah, they're pretty much the big ones, really.
Awesome. And what book would you recommend as a must read?
All right, so this one isn't new, but it's always on my bookshelf and I refer back to it, plenty of times over the last kind of 15 years since it was given to me from a mentor, and it's called Blue Ocean Strategy. And what I love about this book is it helps you, in a very practical sense, work out where your niche is or where your point of difference is, and it helps challenge you as to understand where your products and your marketplace fits within the customer need. So yeah, and it's also underpinned by research as well. So it's a very, very good mix of research-based and practical-based learnings, and yeah, Blue Ocean Strategy.
Awesome. Well, we really only have one more question for you, and we try to ask this to everybody that comes on the show. If you had 30 seconds left to live, what piece of advice would you give?
Yes, so I would say, this again relates to a mindset, is that your thoughts control your feelings and your feelings control your behavior. So it's all about the essence of positive thinking and understanding how your mindset in turn helps you be successful.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being with us. We're really honored and grateful that you decided to spend your time with us. If people want to get to know more about you or what you do, where can they go?
So probably the best way to get in touch with me and continue the learnings is through my podcast, thecornerofficepodcast.com. And that is the best way to, I guess, keep learning, not just about outsourcing, but other things like inbound marketing, content, AI. So I'll be doing different themes for different seasons. And of course, when you go to thecornerofficepodcast.com, there's contact details and things like that as well. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Aimee. I really appreciate it. You have a nice day. Have an awesome day. And I'm actually currently in Bangkok, and I'm going to be signing off. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. This is Aimee Engelmann and Fazil Musa signing off. See you.
Hey there, thanks so much for checking out this video. If you enjoyed it, check out a relevant video here. And don't forget to subscribe to us for more marketing tips, techniques, strategies that are working for us, or just more behind the scenes fun. See ya.